So here's what we know. We know that 69% of sales teams never hit their budget. We also know that 42.2% of sales reps are going to fail to meet their sales numbers this financial year. And here's what we can prove scientifically. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction, otherwise known as the law of cause and effect, right? So for every effect or every result, there's a cause. So the question you have to ask yourself is, what are the causes of your salespeople not delivering their numbers? And we know that there are only 4 potential reasons why your salespeople really aren't delivering on their sales goals or their sales numbers. Number 1, they're incapable. Number 2, they don't know how. Number 3, there are systems or process roadblocks. Or number 4, they choose not to. So let's take a look at those 4 in depth. Number 1, they're incapable. Today many sales teams are made up of salespeople who really shouldn't be in sales. I mean, let's face it, they've managed to fly under the radar for the last, 6, 7, 8 years or so because of a good economy. But the truth be told, really, how good does you really have to be in selling over the last few years to be able to hit your numbers? Well, we know, not that good. But competing today is really a whole new ball game. And the research tells us that 50 to 60% of salespeople out there who are selling are what we call ordinaries. So 56% of the ordinaries are never going to make it in this game of what we call selling. And hiring and keeping and terminating ordinary salespeople is really a management responsibility. Deciding who to keep and who's worth developing and who isn't is a vital management decision. The dollar cost of poor judgment here is potentially enormous. When you consider poor judgment in hiring and then in keeping and then investing in ordinary people that are incapable of making it, it's huge. And then there's the second reason that salespeople today are not delivering on their numbers. They don't know how. So when you get right down to it, who is ultimately responsible to ensure that the individuals running onto the field are capable and competent? So we're talking here competent at selling. So their ability to persuade and to influence, their tactics and strategies. Competent in terms of market development. So again, tactics and strategies. And who are current with their product and industry knowledge. Well, once again, this is ultimately a management responsibility. And then we said number 3 was systems or process roadblocks. So many times our salespeople can be out there doing a stellar job in the market, generating opportunities, growing up new accounts, growing existing accounts, but our own internal systems and our own internal processes let them down in the final hour. Now, often our sales process is dysfunctional. Our management systems and reporting systems are just too cumbersome. Our rewards and our remuneration systems fail to drive individual motivation. And here's another one. Our rewards and remuneration system often conflicts with the remuneration and bonuses and KPIs of other departments, etc., etc. So the question here is, where does the responsibility lie for dysfunctional systems and processes? Once again, we have to point the finger at ourselves and say that the responsibility lies at the feet of management. And so finally, the 4th reason that salespeople today are not delivering their numbers is because they choose not to. Now, by the way, when we say choose not to, we're by no means saying or even implying that the troops are being disobedient. Sure, there are those times where members of your sales team just choose to go against your requirements or your wishes. Obviously, in these cases, then it's up to you as a manager to call the willful behavior and ensure that it doesn't happen again. What I'm really talking about here is where our salespeople make the wrong choices or poor choices. And really because we as management have not really clearly established the criteria for making those decisions properly within our organizations. Or if we have, then they haven't been clearly communicated. And again, once again, this is the responsibility of management. So just to clarify the point, if our salespeople are choosing not to do whatever it is you require them to do, on what basis are they making those choices? And if they're making them from their own volition and they're choosing wrongly, well, where are the guidelines for effective choices in your team or your organization? And more importantly, who is the custodian of those guidelines? Well, you are. Okay, so now that I've lumped you with all the responsibility for your sales team not delivering their sales numbers, let me also say in your defense, this may not be your own fault. Why? Because we know that 89% of all sales managers out there have never really been properly trained in sales management, on how to manage a team of salespeople to deliver their numbers. I mean, where did you learn your job as a sales manager? Who taught you how to do sales management? Well, if you're like the other 89% of sales managers out there, then you've probably learned most of your sales management right on the job, at the school of hard knocks, right? Well, the fact is that most sales managers operating out there today in the marketplace were either plucked from sales ranks or were put into the role because of past successes in another department. Is that you? I mean, how many people have shown you exactly what you need to do to manage a team of salespeople? Who showed you what to do when the market is down and nobody's buying? Who taught you what to do when your products are commoditized and you have no distinct competitive advantage? Who showed you the right way? Well, maybe you were lucky and you had a great mentor or two. And maybe you've been fortunate enough to attend a host of industry workshops and seminars over the years. And maybe you've just coupled together your sales management tools and strategies by taking the best from your previous managers and dumping the rest. The fact is that many of you are using inherited tools and systems that were put there by previous managers, who learned from their managers, who had learned from their managers, etc., etc. And so sales management dysfunction has been transferred down generation after generation. And by the way, how do we know it's dysfunctional? Okay, well, check your results. Remember the law of cause and effect. Here are the numbers. We know that 48.2% of all salespeople missed their overall sales quota last year. The statistics also tell us that 69% of sales teams will never achieve their sales objectives this year. We know that selling cycles have increased between 25 and 40%, and overall sales conversion rate is less than 10%. So when you look at those results, I guess they beg the question, if you knew better, would you do better? Well, the answer is of course you would. If your sales team knew better, they'd be doing better, right? Of course they would. Well, if you knew how to get your salespeople to sell in this current market, would you? If you knew how to get your salespeople more motivated to get out there and sell more, would you? Of course you would. If you knew how to get your salespeople to do what they need to do in order to hit their sales budgets consistently month in and month out, wouldn't you? Of course you would. Well, wouldn't it be great if there was a tried and field-tested sales management system that had been proven to work? One that you could take and use and apply in your business. And the truth is there is. And what you're going to be learning in these sessions will really cover some of those tried and field-tested management systems that, as I said, have been proven to work.